You had a really cool film you did with the great legend, Captain Spaulding, Sid. Well, High on the Hog.
Yeah, High on the Hog was a really awesome opportunity to work with Sid Haig, and Joe Estevez is in that, as well as the late great Robert Zadar.
I thought I saw The Maniac Cop. I was about to bring that up. Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's one of my favorite characters, part 2 and 3. I love it like so much. I think that's one of the most underrated characters ever. Is Officer Matt Cordell.
Yeah, and Robert Zadar, he's one of those guys that, like, I just don't think he got a ton of credit, and it's unfortunate because he had some pretty cool stuff. Like, he was the bad guy in Tango and Cash, next to Jack Palance, of course. He was the bad guy in the prison.
He was in some good mom movies too. Like he was doing pretty good in the late 80s. So
So working with all those guys was pretty cool, and obviously Sid is the reason why I took the job of directing that movie, because I wanted to work with him. I'd worked with Tom Savini on It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want To, and thought that was pretty cool. He only came in for a day, but it was still a good opportunity, and he was pretty cool to work with. But then, spending a week and a half, 2 weeks shooting with Sid Haig, I was like, this is going to be amazing. And so it lived up to the anticipation that I had, and Sid and I became pretty good friends, and I ended up spending a good amount of time after the movie, at conventions with him and just hanging out with him. And I really appreciated the respect that he gave me as his director, and he was very vocal about how confident he was in my ability to create a solid story with the film. And so, it was just a really awesome experience at that time. Working on that movie, being on set with everybody was some of the best times of my, professional career.
I think that's amazing. You got to work with him. I definitely got to know him a little bit through the convention circuit, like a lot of us did. And I mean, he told me some cool stories about actually a nightmare story with Lionsgate. What happened, how he got screwed out of money from the Devil's Rejects. The main 3 when that came out. But he was a great guy too, as far as like 15 years ago, everyone you met, you could have met any icon you wanted probably for $20. And when they all started jacking their prices up, he's one of the only guys that put a flag down and kept it right there, kept it right at the 20, and was vocal about that.
Which is funny because, like you just said, he was always, I think he was a pretty business savvy guy. And so he was very good about just being on top of the merchandising and whatnot with his image. We would be at conventions, and if somebody was selling a shirt that had his image on it that he hadn't approved, he would go over and talk to him about it. And it was not one of those things where he was like, "You're a mother effer," but he was also like, if you're going to sell this, you have to get my approval, and go through this whole process and everything. And I respected that, because it's like people were like nervous by Sid because he's such an icon in the genre, and they obviously didn't want to upset somebody like him. And so he always got the benefit of like the respect from people, and when they realized they did something wrong, they would apologize, and ever since that point, then they would come up to him and talk to him, and would give him a share of their sales and stuff. And so I always thought it was funny, because you're right, he was always on top of, like, at least it seemed to me, and I was around him, like I said, I probably was with him at a half a dozen conventions over the 5 or 6 years after we made it High on the Hog, before he passed. And I would sit at the booth with him and take the money and give the people change while he would talk to the people and sign autographs and take pictures and stuff. And it's like, he just, obviously he was concerned about the money and everything, but he was never too greedy to where he was going to raise his prices. And I really respected that.
it was kind of like, yeah, I'm a business guy, but at the same time, like, you know, he was so good to his fans. He was so good. And like you said, someone had merchandise which is all licensing. You know, he has the right to stop you. And
100%.
for the simple fact that, like you said, he calmly spoke with them. I mean, you could run over, he could have yanked all the merch off the table, but like, you know, you can't have this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, and he still did all right. He
Yeah.
always had a line of people at his table. He never had more than 2 or 3 minutes where there wasn't somebody standing in front of his table getting an autograph. And he was one of the nice guys where if you asked to take a picture with him, he would do it without you having to pay him or pay for an autograph to get a picture, which was nice. And he still did pretty good each weekend from what I saw. So I can only imagine what Robert Englund, who's charging $100, is making in a weekend. I mean, that's insane.
That's $100 a minute. I always just say that for everyone that's doing at the convention. It's $100 per minute is just unreal. And I remember when I met Robert Englund, he was $25. We're talking about 05 here, but like, you know, so I got in during the great time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, inflation's a bitch.
Yeah.